And so system theory. Before that, let me tell you that system theory is actually it's a small body of knowledge. I mean, if you compare it with economic theories that we discussed, right, or psychological theories, right? So, in comparison to economic theories or psychological theories, system theory is relatively it's a smaller body of knowledge, and that contains a low-hanging fruit for HG, right? Yeah. So, I mean, what I want to say here, I mean, psychological theories or say economic theories are actually playing predominating role here, but system not that actually. But so that's why we're saying that it contains a harvest of low hanging fruit for HRD. And from a system theory perspective, a wide range of systemic disconnects is adversely affecting. For example, they could not be able to clearly specify the required outcome of the host organization, right? Host organization is, because host organization is the context for the HRD, right? And another is not having a systematically defined HRD process. Okay, because HRD process, I mean the process, the activities to be performed says sequentially one after another. That is not systematically defined. Okay, so what should come after what, something like that. So system theory is a relatively, you can say, a young discipline made up of a collection of agile concepts, the principles, tools, techniques, methods, right, associated with system of any kind, any type of system, right? And the three specific theory perspectives that are proposed actually to be appropriate for the HRD field are actually general system theory, then chaos theory, and then finally the futures theory. Okay. Nice. And uh, the system theory principles are actually and principles for practice are actually organic, and the system elements, their arrangements, their interdependency, because they have an interdependent relationship among different parts or elements. Okay, and the complex nature of the phenomenon under study must be faced. Okay, and the system theory principles for practice require serious thinking and theory building research, right? And the utilization of new, say, methods and tools for sound practices. Okay, and a full pursuit of the simple propositions in HRD would reshape the HRD purpose and the tools utilized in the practices. So let us first talk about system theory. The general system theory. What is the underlying assumptions here? So HRD must understand how it and other subsystems connect. So and from the host organization, because the host organization actually gives you the context. So from that particular context, organizational context, the HRD needs to understand how each other subsystem, because human resource development, if you think this way, of course, I told you earlier that HRD cannot be viewed as a subsystem of human resource management, right? So yeah, but these are connected. Sure. Human resource development is obviously disconnected with HRM, and from functional perspective. If you ask me from functional perspective, right? So yeah, the learning say at the workplace there is a learning and development department, right? That mostly deals with HRD issues, right? So that is working under the HR department, broadly under the HR department, right? So yeah, so from a very practical perspective, yeah, so it works like a subsystem within the HRM system. So yeah, but theoretically we treat HRD as a completely distinct discipline, right? So HRD must understand how actually the HRD itself and other subsystem, because HRD, so you think this way, within the organizational system, if we view organization as a total system, as a whole system, then HRD can be viewed as a subsystem of it. And there are many other subsystems. And then general system theory actually assumes that, or it actually presumes that the HRD must understand its linkage with other subsystems, and how actually they connect or disconnect from the host organizations. How do they connect, or how do they disconnect? from the host organization. So that's one theory, one thing. And then let's talk about the chaos theory. And here the gist is actually HRD must help. Um, uh, Chabir, do you have any question? So HRD must help its host organization retain its purpose, okay, and effectiveness given the chaos it faces. So HRD it should it must help its host organization. So because it acts as a facilitator, so it will facilitate the organization, okay, to achieve its strategic goal. So HRD must help its host organization, I mean the system, right, within which it works, okay, to retain its purposes and effectiveness, given that the chaos it faces. So it might face so many different chaos, or so many different discrepancies, or you can say bottlenecks, but still it must help the system to retain its purpose and effectiveness. And then finally, the features theory. Actually, the underlying assumption here is that HRD must help its host organizations shape alternative futures. So what alternative is there actually? So you got the point. So for example, the chaos theory, where chaos begins, classical science stops, as you perhaps know, right? So if there is any chaos, then the science will not actually work. So because chaos is a science of process rather than a state, of becoming, rather than of being, right? So chaos theory confronts Newtonian logic head on by offering a revised motto away from determinism to something much softer. Okay, so chaos theory purposefully acknowledges and studies phenomena that are unsystematic, that do not appear to follow the rules. So one is you follow the rules, there is a discipline, there is everything is in right order, and opposite to that is there is no system. There is chaos. They do not follow the rules or any standard operating procedures. So that do not appear to follow any such rule. That's called chaos theory. So that is anti-systematic. I mean, anti-systematic theory actually, right? So that has an implications in the field of HRD as well. And futures theory, on the other hand, is not necessarily interested in predicting the future. So it's not like the future theory talks about how to better predict or forecast the future. Rather, it is about the liberation of people's insights. That, I mean, people can think their own way, right? People can actually, they are free to think, and they are free to actually share their thoughts with others. So that's the future theory in the context of planning for the future. Okay, is in uncertain conditions, right? So the future theory, in the perspective of planning for the future. So you do plan for the future, but you don't know what might happen because tomorrow is uncertain, right? Today is what is happening today, we see, but we are trying to predict future, right? We are anticipating something to happen tomorrow or day after tomorrow, but it might not happen. It might happen, it might not happen, right? So we are basically predicting uncertain conditions. In no way resembles the reductionist view of the most strategic planning efforts and end up with a single strategy. So yeah, that's so if you the future theory actually assumes that and it is critical for sustainable performance, and that it prepares one to recognize and cope up with the evolving future state. Okay, so these are different critical system theories. Jar system theory, chaos theory, and futures theory that do significantly support the HRD discipline, because HRD, the different concepts and different assumptions of HRD are driven by the system theories, are underpinned by the system theories, or supported by the system theories. So what conclusion can we draw actually based on the discussion so far we made on three specific system theory perspectives? The conclusion that we can draw is, as such, HRD takes place in organization. Earlier, can you remember we talked about the actually psychological theory propositions and economic theory propositions for HRD. First of all, we said that HRD takes place within an organization which is an economic entity. So it's the economic theory is it should be considered as being a core theory. So, and then we talked about the psychological theory, because we actually treat organization we treat organization actually as as a collection of people, right? It's a organization is all about, it's a group of people. Yeah, Javi, raise question. Okay. Yeah, go on. Yeah, I can see someone raised a hand, and you are allowed to ask question.
স্যার আমাকে শোনা যাচ্ছে স্যার?
Yeah, I can clearly hear you.
আপনি যেটা বললেন সেটা হচ্ছে কি future theory is more of like speculative and predicting futures.
Exactly,
And
speculation. Yeah,
chaos theory is more like studying the complex dynamic system that appears random but have underlying patterns. So,
exactly. Yeah.
so if we take that, so suppose I am forecasting a weather. So এটা তো ফিউচারের দিকে আমি স্পেকুলেটিভ মেথড ইউজ করেও আমি এটা ওয়েদার ফোরকাস্ট করতেছি, বাট দেন এগেন ইট ফলস আন্ডার chaos theory as well, that the predicting weather might have a complex pattern.
If it is about predicting the future, so it goes actually it belongs to that theory, the future theory, not chaos theory.
Okay, sir.
Right, because chaos is what actually what is
in
about
general sense it means havoc, or it's
exactly. So yeah, it's not in, I mean, something happens not in order, right?
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So something distorted, for example, the system is not working, something happens in an unsystematic way,
right,
breaking the rule, breaking the rule.
রাইট, আমার কোশ্চেনটা এখানে যে সাপোজ আমাদের ওয়েদারটাও তো কেওটিক, সো ইটস
weather, if you talk about weather forecasting, then yeah, right now, but the question is still here, there is a question. Chaos is present oriented, because আপনি প্রেডিক্ট করছেন তো ওয়েদার ফোরকাস্ট, টুমরোস ওয়েদার, সেটা ফিউচার থিওরি দিয়ে যাচ্ছে, বাট ফিউচার সেই ওয়েদার যে ফোরকাস্টেড যে ওয়েদার, সেটা সে ফোরকাস্ট, মানে আপনার ফোরকাস্টটা যদি ট্রু হয়, হ্যাঁ, তাহলে তো ইউ টেক নেসেসারি মেজার্স, প্রিভেন্টিভ মেজার্স টু সেফগার্ড ইয়োরসেলফ, দেন দেয়ার উইল বি নো chaos. মানে আপনি যদি জানেন যে কালকে সিডর হবে, সিডর আসবে বা এই ধরনের কিছু একটা, দেন ইউ উইল টেক প্রিকশনারি মেজার্স, রাইট? Why? To systematically handle it.
রাইট স্যার।
কিন্তু ফর এক্সাম্পল ধরে নেন যে গতকাল ইয়েস্টারডে ইউ ফোরকাস্টেড টুডেজ ওয়েদার, রাইট? ফিউচার থিওরি অ্যাপ্লাই করে আপনি সেটা করছেন, কিন্তু প্রশ্নটা দেখা গেল এরকম তো ইট হ্যাপেন্স, বিকজ সায়েন্স ডাজন্ট ওয়ার্ক দেয়ার।
রাইট,
আপনি ওয়েদার ফোরকাস্ট করছেন তো একটা সায়েন্টিফিক ওয়েতে, বাট আপনি সায়েন্টিফিক ওয়েতে ফোরকাস্ট করার পর অনেক সময় ইট হ্যাপেন্স যে those assumptions prove to be false, wrong, right? দেখা গেল আপনার বলা হচ্ছিল যে ওয়েদার এভরিথিং উইল বি ফাইন, কিন্তু দেখা গেল একটা ন্যাচারাল ডিজাস্টার ক্যালামিটিস আপনি এক্সপেরিয়েন্স করলেন, then that would create chaos today.
Understood, sir.
Okay. So yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so in the last week you talked about the propositions, I mean the psychological theory propositions and the economic theory propositions for HRD, and we argued that as such, the HRD takes place in an organization that can be viewed as an economic entity, right? Because particularly we are talking about business organizations, right? Not say charitable firm. So business organizations, it does have a profit motive. For profit firm, it actually involves in production and distribution of goods and services, as you know. So these are all economic activities. So that the organization itself is an economic entity, and as such, HRD takes place within that context. So HRD must actually call upon economic theory as its core. So economic theory is the fundamental theory, is the I can better say it's the focal theory. Our research the focal theory underpinning a particular say discipline or a particular academic domain. So here, economic theories actually act as focal theories. এখন focal theory সাথে যখন আমরা রিসার্চ করি, ফর এক্সাম্পল আই ক্যান টেল ইউ, যেমন আমরা যখন কোনো রিসার্চে কাজ করে থাকি তখন দেখা যায় আমাদের রিসার্চ টপিকটা ইট হ্যাজ টু বি actually supported by established theory. Now, if your research is kind of inductive research, then you don't need to, use the theory, or you don't need to actually set the theory in such a way, that your aim is like to either to substantiate the theory or falsify theory. If you adopt inductive approach, for example, so your direction would be different. Your direction would be, say, from data to theory. Your study would be underpinned by established theory, no doubt about that. But your aim is not to develop any hypothesis, formulate hypothesis, test the hypothesis, and verify the hypothesis, and based on that you don't want to actually conclude that yes, the theory is all right or theory is not all right. It is correct. You do not aim to substantiate the theory nor falsify the theory, because you are an inductive researcher. Your direction is from data to theory. Rather, you want to actually propose a theory, right? That's one thing. But you have to take the help from a theory, for sure, no matter whether you are an inductive researcher or a deductive researcher. On the other hand, if you do deductive research, for example, so your direction is from theory to data. So you start the research journey by developing an educated case that is called hypothesis. Hypothesis বলতে কি বোঝায়? আমরা সাধারণভাবে বলি হচ্ছে assumption, বাংলায় বলে ধারণা আর কি। assumption, supposition, whatever, এটাকে বাংলায় বলে ধারণা। কিন্তু সাধারণ মানুষের ধারণার রিসার্চারের ধারণার তো এক ধরনের বিষয় না। সাধারণ মানুষের ধারণাকে তো আর টেস্ট করা হচ্ছে না, রাইট? কিন্তু রিসার্চার যে ধারণা পোষণ করে, that has to be tested. And that assumption is called actually hypothesis that needs to be tested. And so your research topic, your research context, everything is actually underpinned by an established theory, and by formulating the theory and say testing the theory, you want to actually either substantiate the theory or falsify the theory. আপনি either চাচ্ছেন থিওরিটাকে স্ট্রেনথেন করতে, it may be the Shen's capability approach, অমর্ত্য সেন capability theory হতে পারে সেটা, যে the findings of your study would help substantiate the theory, would say yeah, the theory is absolutely all right. Or maybe the findings of your study are counterintuitive, or are strongly indicating that no, the theory is not actually that universal, right? So এখানে বিষয়টা এরকম। But no matter whether you do follow theory to data direction or data to theory direction, theory is must. Right? Any research work has to be driven by a particular theory or couple of theories. এখানে ইকোনমিক থিওরিজ গুলোর কথা আমরা বলছি, সেটা হচ্ছে ইকোনমিক থিওরিজ গুলোর হলো যে ফান্ডামেন্টাল অর্থাৎ ফোকাল থিওরি, because whenever we treat human, whenever we talk about, whenever we treat people as a resource, that means, and we talk about human capital, that means we are treating them as an important area of investment. তাই না? আগে তো মনে করা হতো যখন আমরা বলতাম পার্সোনাল ম্যানেজমেন্ট, people were viewed as a cog of machine. They were actually treated like like a mere other factor of production, and viewed as a cost center. So whatever you spend for your people is a mere cost, nothing else. And cost doesn't have return in true sense. But whenever you treat people as a resource or as a capital, that necessarily implies that you need to invest in its development, in its retention, in its acquisition. Got it? And naturally that would have a return, because you are investing. That means that naturally, so whenever you undertake an investment perspective, that necessarily implies that you are expecting a return from there. right? So you see, then everything is totally different then. So economic theory actually plays the central role here in the domain of HRD, because whenever we are treating people as resource or capital, then basically we are treating them as an economic asset, economically valuable asset, or we can better say invaluable asset for the company or for the organization, right? Well, that's the major supposition or assumption of this of that theory. And then psychological theory, well, so we also concluded that HRD actually takes place, right, and in an organization, right? And that organization is psychologically framed. And probably in the last class, Jabir, I guess, I can recall, Jabir probably asked me, what do you mean by psychologically framed? We are psychological being, right? We have a psychology. Okay, we have a psychology. We have attitudes. We have values. We have perception, right? We see something, but we perceive something as well. We see so many things, but we perceive selective things, for example. And we have a value system. We have terminal values. We have instrumental values. We have attitudes. We have cognition. We have emotions, right? We have effects. So you see, we are psychological being, and we do form the core of the organization. So can't we define organization as a psychological entity as well? So organization ke aage bolechi amra economy entity. Now we are claiming that, we are arguing that organization is a group of people, and people are psychological beings. So we can conclude therefore that organization is a psychological actually entity as well. So you see, HRD takes place in organization that is psychologically framed. Who invented the organization, who operated, who run the organization, who rebuild the organization. So HRD should be viewed as a core theory. So HRD must call psychology as a core theory of it. So now we are talking about the system theory that is not that influential. I told you at the very beginning of today's lecture that system theory, in comparison to, say, psychological theory or economic theory, system theory doesn't actually support HRD that much, or it doesn't have that much significant influence on HRD. But yeah, to some extent, because HRD can be viewed as a subsystem within the broader organizational system, and as such, HRD should be any research you want to actually conduct, in this particular domain, should be supported, or you can take the support from system theory, I can say. Okay. For example, I do conduct research, and mostly my studies are actually mostly supported or underpinned by, say, human capital theory, say RBV, resource based view theory, behavioral theories, different behavioral psychology theories, right? Because these are all predominating. Okay. Now let's talk about the system theory propositions for HRD. So what I mean to say here, it depends on you people. Which theory do you think is a better fit for your study, right? Okay, so since HRD takes place in organizations that are themselves systems and subsystems functioning within an environmental system, because we talk about macro environment, and these are that issues, right? So that is ever changing, because this. Why do we talk about chaos theory, futures theory? Because the organization itself works within an environment, right? We talk about, say, economic environment. We do use different tools to analyze or to scan the environment. For example, SWOT analysis. We talk about SWOT. We talk about pastel analysis, political analyzing the political forces, economic conditions, right? Then sociocultural forces. Okay, then technological environment. Then say natural, natural ones. So you see, so there are different, political, economic, sociocultural, technological, there are different legal or regulatory, so these are different, economic and environmental forces actually that significantly influence organizational functioning. So you see, so organizational functioning is affected by these environmental macro and micro environmental forces, and these forces are ever changing. Particularly, I can tell you about the technological environment. It's changing every day, right? এই যে কিছুক্ষণ আগে শুরুতেই ক্লাসে বনি বলছিলেন যে জুমের যে আপগ্রেডেশন, রাইট? তার মানে technological changes take place overnight, and these changes are called it's called primary order change, transformational change, revolutionary change, right? And these are so rapid, sometimes people find it quite challenging and difficult to cope up with the changes, right? So you see, and there is a question of chaos. ওখানে chaos তৈরি হওয়ার একটা পসিবিলিটি থাকে, হাই থাকে পসিবিলিটি, রাইট? কারণ এই জন্য আমরা একটা শব্দ বলে থাকি ডিসরাপটিভ টেকনোলজি। তার মানে টেকনোলজিক্যাল ইনোভেশন অনেক সময় ডিসরাপশন তৈরি করে কিন্তু এট দ্য ওয়ার্ক প্লেস, রাইট? So innovation অনেক সময় might lead to disruption as well, particularly if you fail to cope up with that. আপনি যত quickly you can redesign your process, your job, everything, SOPs, the quickly you re-engineer all these things, you will be the beneficiary of it. But if once you fail to cope up with that, once you fail to redesign your job, your work processes, everything, then you're gonna face a big challenge, right? So you see, so organized HRD takes place within a broader organizational system, and that is an ever-changing system. So system theory can be viewed as its core as well. And finally, I would like to, because it is Ramadan, and I don't want to speak not more than this. So I would like to briefly, wrap up. Let's briefly talk about what is model. One is called theory, then model. Model is a kind of simplified representation, or we can say abstraction, as it is written actually. I mean, it's a simplified representation or abstraction of reality, and designed to understand, explain, and predict a system of phenomena. Okay, so it's really helpful because looking at the model, we can understand the reality. We can get an overview, a holistic view of the reality. Okay, you can understand it. You can explain and predict a system, okay, or phenomena. Yeah, and the last slide probably you have in your hand is the model of HRD within the organization and environment. So you see, এখানে একদম একটা ওভাল শেপের একটা আছে, দেখবেন ওভাল শেপের একটা সার্কেল আছে। সো এখানে দেখবেন যে এনভায়রনমেন্ট মানে ব্রড যে ফোর্সেস গুলো আমি বলেছি অলরেডি আপনাদেরকে, যে ম্যাক্রো এনভায়রনমেন্টাল, ইকোনমিক ফোর্সেস, পলিটিক্যাল ফোর্সেস, তারপর আরো এখানে কালচারাল ফোর্সেস আছে, আরো আছে সে কালচারাল, দেন technological. These are macro environmental forces, right, that influence the functioning of the organization, right? Organization ki ache, say mission, I mean the reason why an organization is in business, then its strategy, its long-term action plan, okay, then its structure, organization একটা structure থাকে, okay, একটা organogram থাকে, okay, একটা hierarchical একটা relationship prevails, okay, among the employees, okay, then the technology deployed, okay, and then HR. So you see there are some hard aspects as well as some soft aspects. So human resources are soft aspects. Technology, on the other hand, hard aspects. So organization consists of both hard and soft aspects, right? There are some inputs. Then the processes. So just have a look at this. Then people create, implement, and assess, and finally the outputs, it generates output. Okay. So this is how does the HRD, the model actually work. Input, throughput, output, যেটাকে আমরা বলে থাকি আর কি। Process is I mean the transformation. Input দিচ্ছি আমরা, output বের হবে। Okay, so we'll provide say training, we'll provide education, we'll provide better healthcare facilities. Okay, we'll actually thereby we make the workforce enable actually to generate better outcomes, better outputs, innovative outputs, and thereby help the organization achieve its strategic goals or any aims. Yeah. So yeah, and thank you very much. That's all about chapter 2. I don't want to start the next one because that would be burdensome for you guys, I guess. Because up to this is for your mid one, and whatever we will discuss, inshallah, after the Eid vacation, on the first class after the vacation, that will be included for your second midterm exam, not for your mid one exam. Is it all right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Inshallah.
Yes, sir.
And do you have any question to ask? I'll be happy to answer your question before leaving today's meeting. And or if you don't have any question, then probably it's the high time to say you bye.
Sir, just one question from my end.
Sure.
Being an HR practitioner, which theory is more relevant in terms of Bangladesh? That is the economic theory, psychological theory, or system theory?
Oh, that's really a good question. Thank you, Bonnie, for asking me this question. Look, so far, the way we discuss different theories underpinning the HRD is more from a theoretical perspective, from academic perspective. I can say from a research perspective. But as you were asking me the question from a practitioner's actually view, from a highly professional and practical perspective, then, well, let me answer the question this way. Look, it depends on what role do you play at the workplace. For example, if you are in a position to actually take an investment decision, whether you should invest in say your workforce development, or whether you should actually do something to actually develop a dynamic workforce, or identify your skill gaps, or develop a skill matrix. So I think the economic theories are more relevant here, because the organizations, particularly as you mentioned about Bangladesh, and I'm pretty much sure you want to set a Bangladeshi organization as your context, right? So then I must tell you, look, organizations are struggling a lot. The market is extremely competitive. You are operating locally, but you are serving a global market. So the competition is really intense. So, and you have resource limitations. You have financial capacities. The companies, the organizations are having financial capabilities, but that is limited. That is not, the way Google or SpaceX or Tesla actually can look into the HR affairs. Okay, can you look into the HR affairs in the same way as say organizations like Meta or Tesla or say British Airways actually look into? The answer is probably no, because you have capacity limitations they don't have. So they can invest billions of dollars for their workforce development. A multinational company can send its employees, its mid-level even people, its first-line manager, employees abroad to receive advanced training. Okay, but our local companies cannot afford sending its employees, even top-level executives abroad, to receive, say, advanced training, sophisticated training, or something like that. Okay, so you have to critically deal with the scarce resource theory or something like that. At the same time, you have to also deal with human capital theory, because sometimes it happens. I saw many organizations in our country, many local firms, many local companies, RMGs, and pharmaceutical companies. They do not want to treat their people as resource. Rather, they want to treat their people as liability, and they don't want to invest in this in this asset. even they do not actually, they cannot actually understand, they cannot realize that these people can give the organization competitive advantage in the market. Still we are trying to exploit our cheap labor. We do not want to develop a skilled workforce. Rather, we want to focus more on our cheap labor, and we want to remain competitive, price competitive in the international market, having lower per unit labor cost. So but that cannot give us sustainable advantage or competitive advantage in the long run, right? So you have to actually adapt the you have to actually adapt the assumptions of human capital theory, that look, you should treat your people as asset, and not only asset, rather as capital, and it's the most important area of investment where you should actually hit on. And once you start treating your people as capital, and you develop a mindset, the investors, the top level executives like say Boni Amin, once they start realizing, no, I should invest in its development, then they can better change outcomes, right? If they start thinking this way, once Mr. Steve Jobs left Apple, the share price of Apple dropped down significantly, and once Mr. Steve Jobs re-entered, then the share price of Apple just significantly raised. So yeah, people can make big difference between two organizations. So therefore, you should focus on. And remember, the central thesis of human capital theory is like, the return on investment in human resource or human resource development, can be calculated, even though it's very challenging. But that's for sure, no matter whether it is easily calculable or not, but the conclusion that we can draw, the inference we can draw, and the research findings necessarily imply that yes, you gonna actually receive a huge kind of huge return on that investment. So why shouldn't the organizations, our local companies, actually take an investment perspective and actually undertake an economic theory perspective for their HRD to grow? So system theory does have its own implications, no problem. Psychological theories, yeah, you treat people as as human being and have emotions and everything, fine. But from a practical perspective, from a practitioner's perspective, you should start thinking it as an asset, contemplating people as an asset, and you should develop a mindset because often investors, I talk to them, I talk to many people who are actually the employers. They think that, well, it is resource, and yeah, it can give us huge advantage, okay, no doubt about that, but this resource is very risky. So any investment in this resource, human resource, is a very risky venture, right? So look, you can minimize this risk by actually adapting the right retention strategy. So HRD should be followed by any HRD interventions should be followed by appropriate or adoption of appropriate retention strategy, and thereby you can minimize the risk of losing your talents, right? So I'm sorry, probably I am lingering in the discussion, but that's a very nice question Mr. Boni asked. Do you get the answer?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I get the answer. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I have a question as well.
Yeah, sure.
You have discussed mainly in the slides, you have discussed about the general system theory, chaos theory, and future theory, right?
Yeah.
And you told that the general system theory is not much applicable or cannot be practically applied in the general HR systems, or might not be the optimal one, if I'm not wrong. But I believe, sir, for a stable, structured organization which supports integration and systemic.
I didn't say. By the way, I'm just interrupting. Sorry, I didn't say it doesn't have any applications. It does have, but not as much as other theory propositions have actually.
Okay. So my question is that does the optimal, which theory is best for me? Would it be based on the structure of the HR system that is being followed. Like if I say that for a dynamic, rapidly changing environment, chaos theory would be more perfect as it fosters flexibility and adaptability. Then again, if I'm thinking as a forward-thinking, innovative HR system, future theory
Yeah.
would be more applicable for me as it helps to prepare for long-term changes and workforce evolution.
Yeah. No, it's like you have to take the lesson from the past, you have to deal with the present, and you have to prepare yourself for the future, right? So no theory is less important. Rather, I mean, these are more important for academics and researchers. But if you ask me from a practitioner's perspective, I will rather say that, yeah, blending is needed. So it's not like it's not like you have to rely on a particular theory, a single theory. Rather, in everyday's work, if you deal with HRD particularly, then you will see that you have to derive insights from every single theory, because somehow it will help you to better face the realities. That's why I told you that some theories will help you to better take the lesson from the past. Some theories will help you to better deal with the current situation. I mean, maybe there is a chaotic situation. You can better address those problems and actually fix those. And at the same time, we talked about future theory, for example. Then, so you can take the lesson from that theory. You can actually take the assumptions from that theory, and you can better actually prepare yourself to face the future challenges, the upcoming challenges. So it's not like you have to specifically rely on a particular theory. Rather, you have to basically take the lessons from all the theories and apply those lessons into practice.
Combination of all the theories.
Yeah, exactly, combination. That's why I told you, look, even now, whenever I do research in the field of HR or any field, particularly as HR is my area of concentration, major area of concentration, and that's my main area actually of research. So we tend to actually use multiple theories in a single study, because if a study is based on a single theory, then it would be difficult to draw inferences at the end of the day. But the blending should be very logical. It should be in a very logical way, right? কারণ অনেক সময় কিছু বিষয় আছে যেগুলো আপনি বলছিলেন যে স্যার এই দুটো থিওরির মধ্যে তো কিছু জায়গায় ওভাররিচিং কিছু অ্যাজাম্পশনস আছে, সেগুলোকে ইউ হ্যাভ টু ডিল উইথ। দেখা গেল আপনি দুটো থিওরি অ্যাপ্লাই করছেন, দুটো থিওরির অ্যাজাম্পশনস গুলো একটার সাথে একটা আপনার কনফ্লিক্ট করতে পারে, কনফ্লিক্টিং হতে পারে, then you must know how to deal with that kind of difficulty. So yeah, it has to be done in a very logical manner, right?
Yes, I understood, sir.
Okay. Any more question? Okay, so then thank you very much for attending today's online class, and I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you after the vacation. And সবাইকে অগ্রিম ঈদের শুভেচ্ছা জানাচ্ছি।
Thank you so much, sir. Eid Mubarak.
Thank you, sir. Eid Mubarak.
Take care,
Eid
sir.
Mubarak, sir.
ঈদ মোবারক। ঈদ মোবারক।
Eid Mubarak.
sir.
ঈদ মোবারক।
Eid Mubarak, sir.
হ্যাঁ, ঈদ মোবারক সবাইকে। And I wish we'll come back inshallah soon to this journey, and with a good health, yeah, and hope you will have a nice Eid with your family and friends. Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Walaikum assalam. I'm going to actually leave this meeting now. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz, sir.